Hello good people, Mike here. Today we're going over some basic wall repair, extracting wall anchors, getting those holes filled. And if you stay around to the end, we'll do a more advanced move if you're up for that. So if you're looking to get that house listed, you're in between tenants, just got to get those walls back in shape, looking good and smooth, I'll show you how I do it. So this is our pretend wall. The color looks familiar. I don't know where I've seen that before. Anyway, I've got a regular old nail. You see a lot of those. A normal screw. Here's a small straight plastic anchor. Looks like that. Over here we have the screw-in plastic anchor. It's going to look like that. I like these. I find them effective, pretty easy to use. And here we have the metal anchor that expands when you screw it into the wall. Now I don't see these used a whole lot anymore. I tend to find them in older places, and I've seen a lot of poor attempts at making them look better. Now, when you screw it in, it expands into the back of the wall, and you do not want to pull it through the wall because you will make a big hole and a big mess because it looks like this. So let's get these out and start filling. All right, we'll start with the regular screw here. Just back that thing out. Maybe, but if it does that, get you something to put behind it. That catches in the threads, and that'll get it to come out. There you go. So we got the screw gun. We'll take out this screw-in plastic anchor. These usually aren't a problem. Every once in a while they'll strip, and sometimes you have to really dig at them to get them out. But most times I find they back out pretty easily. Let's go to the nail. Most times you can grab that with your pliers and pull it out, but if it isn't a stud, it's going to be really, you can't pull that with pliers. So use your hammer, use your claw hammer, and get behind there, but put something hard behind it. I got a little shim here. Might want to use something a little thicker, but we'll use this because that claw hammer can crease the wall if that nail's in there really good. And you'll just pull that out, just like that. So simple. It gets us to the small straight plastic anchor. And again, you can use your needle nose to pull that thing out. But sometimes it's hard to grab onto, and those old ones can be brittle and start falling apart. So usually I just go around and take my 5-in-1 and knock the flange off that thing. Just like that. Then you can press in with the corner of it, just so that's countersunk a little bit. There you go. That way some of it's still in there. Then you put your spackle over that. It has a little something to stick to there. Also, we'll take this screw out. Like I said, this one we don't want to try to pull out. It'll make a big mess. So we're going to try to punch it through, or maybe even not all the way through. Sometimes you can get lucky and it'll just recess just a little bit. And that's nice because then you don't have quite a big of a hole to deal with there. Let's see how this goes. So I just take the punch, put it on the flange, tap a little bit and see if you can get it to set down a little bit without going all the way through. Oh, there we go. Yes, just under the surface and did not go all the way through. So that's nice because the hole's not as big, and then that gives something for the spackle to sit on there, start to harden up, and it's a lot easier to deal with. Here's a detail a lot of people overlook, and that's making sure everything's really nice and smooth before you even start spackling. So I think you can see here and here, these edges are sticking up. So you want to make sure everything's flat and push down in. So kind of knock that off, and I like to take the point of this and just push it in so the edges are nice and round. Just kind of push that in like that. Then you can take your blade, go over it, feel nothing sticking up, and go right over that. That's pretty good. Oh, got a little bit here. We'll push those edges in. And that little plastic anchor. Oh, that's all. Let's see, you got a little bit there. So just push that in. All right. Everything's nice and recessed now. Let's get them filled. All right, let's get these smaller holes filled first. Got some spackle here. And I want you to take your putty knife and do something like this. We don't need that for small holes. We have these. They work much better. You get a much better result. So we'll start. We'll just get a little bit on the finger there. And you want to kind of work from the center out. You don't want to just swipe it on there. So you're going from the center out and you work out with that. Again, get some in there, make sure that hole's filled. And then again from the center out. And that makes it so you're keeping a lot of the spackle in the hole. As you just swipe across, it tends to sink down in. So you get some on there, and then from the center out. And it's going to get on your fingers, and just use a cleaner finger. Just get that nice and smooth as you can. It's looking good. There's a bigger hole here, so we'll just get a bigger amount of spackle. Get that in the hole there, same thing. Work from that center out. And you can fill pretty big holes with this, considering. Get that nice and smooth. Those edges down. So you get it nice and smooth. You won't even have to deal with sanding it. It'll dry and be ready for paint. And then I'll show you how to deal with this bigger one here. So that last hole we filled with a lightweight spackle, that's about as big as I like to go with that kind of product. For something a little bigger, I use Ready Patch. It's thicker, it dries pretty hard, and it's kind of tough to sand. So I like to get it just as smooth as I can while it's still pliable, so I don't have to sand. You just want to sand as little as possible, and you get to use your putty knife this time. So we'll get some on there, get as smooth as we can. And then I like to go a few different directions. There we go. And I like to call this pre-sanding. We'll just get this formed real nice. So I have a bucket here with some water in it and a rag. Just get your fingers wet and then just kind of smooth that out. That way you don't even need to sand the edges. Now that's kind of a lot of water. I'm not used to doing this on a horizontal surface, but anyway, you get the point. And that's really effective on the wall. It makes it so when that dries, it is ready for paint. All right, we'll let those dry and we'll do that more advanced move, a bigger hole about the size of a fist. Sometimes you'll find a hole in the wall from a doorknob if there wasn't a good doorstop put in place, or sometimes somebody will punch a hole in the wall. I mean, you know how it is. You get really upset about something. The only way to relieve that is to put your fist through the wall. I mean, if you're anything like me, you've probably never done that. Why would you do that? Now you got a hole in the wall to repair, and you could hurt your hand bones really bad, especially if you don't plan it out well and you hit a stud. So let's go over that kind of repair. I just attempted to punch a hole through the drywall with my fist, and while my strength was far superior to that of the drywall, it did not go as planned. So here we have a hole created to look like as though a doorknob went through it. So we'll get this patched up. Normally you square off the hole first, put some backing material behind there, some kind of wood screwed in, and then measure and cut the patch to fit in there, screw that onto the wood, tape it, and put joint compound on there, the mud, and smooth it all out. We're going to eliminate the backing material, the screws, and the tape. But for that, we actually need to cut the patch first and then match the hole to that. We can see here that our patch needs to be about 4 inches by 4 inches. So we're going to add actually 2 inches to each side to cut the patch 6 inches by 6 inches. Now we're going to measure in 1 inch from each edge. A line across there. Now we're going to score these lines. Now here's the important part. Break these off, but we're leaving the flap on the surface side intact. Now we'll center that over the hole, and we're just going to trace around the patch. I'm going to mark the patch so I remember which way it went in, because it might not be exactly square. Now we'll square off the hole. Make sure the patch fits perfectly in there. Now let's load this up with some mud. Make sure the flap's fully covered so there's no dry spots on there. Don't want any bubbles in there. I like to make sure I get all the edges of the patch too. Make sure it's in the same direction that you cut it for. Press it in. Seal it down, smooth it out. There you go. And most times you can even get your first coat of mud to cover on that. So there you go, another coat or two, and it's ready for sanding and paint. I hope that was helpful to get your house ready for sale or for whatever occasion. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. All right, let's make a hole. I hope that was hopeful.